Welcome back to Ladylike, the Girl Dad podcast. This podcast was founded with one mission: to show my daughter Drew what it means to be ladylike. I'm on a quest to interview incredible women, to learn about their story, and to hear about what it took to become the woman they are now. This week I met with Lauren Mahesri, the Pediatric Dietitian, and she was incredible. We spent time talking about child nutrition, how we were raised affects how we think about food now, and the blending of cultures when two people come together from different worlds and create something beautiful together. I'm truly blessed and honored to have created this episode and got to highlight Lauren. I'm excited for what she has to say to all of you, and I'm excited about what I learned. So we're going to go right into the Dear Drew segment and then right into the podcast after that. Also, I forgot to say this earlier, but if you're listening on Spotify, definitely go over to YouTube and watch the nutritional trivia challenge that Lauren and I did. It's a great time. It's funny. Dear Drew, I hope this is one of the episodes that you'll return to someday. Lauren made me laugh, made me think, and made me reflect on my own story. We talked about food and shame and culture and family, and about what it looks like to honor someone else's background without losing your own voice. Yeah. You reminded me that being ladylike doesn't mean fitting into a mold. It means showing up with empathy. It means knowing when to soften and when to stand tall. It means learning to feed others, not just with food, but with grace. I want you to know this: your background, your struggles, and your story will shape you, but they will never limit you. You are allowed to live in between. You are allowed to grow beyond what others expect. And no matter what room you walk into, you belong. Love always, Dad. So the first question I had for you is when did you decide that you wanted to be a dietitian? I feel like I remember you in high school. I don't know if that was your thing at the time.
Yeah, I feel like in high school they split you up into two, like, are you a creative or are you going to go to medical school? You know, it's like if you're even remotely uninterested in writing, then you like science and you should be a doctor.
That's right.
So that was kind of my thing in high school. I was very goody two shoes, loved the rules. It's like, oh, I'll be a doctor. Duh, this makes so much sense. And then I went to college, and I remember my first semester of college, I had to take a calculus class to be in biology, and I dropped my major, because I can't do that.
Right.
And so I randomly just started perusing around majors. I switched it up a bunch, and I finally landed on human development and child development. So that was my major that I graduated with. And then I kind of was going in and out between, I wanted to be a naturopath for a little bit.
What's that?
Those aren't as popular in the US, but I studied abroad. Shadowed some in Australia and was like, wow. And I was realizing that a naturopathic doctor is kind of like a dietitian and a doctor mixed with a little bit of like Chinese voodoo in there, which that's the part I didn't love, like the herbal kind of crunch life. And so I also have been cooking forever. I was like that kind of kid that would watch, Giada and the Food Network, like all growing up.
Yeah.
And so I didn't even realize that being a dietitian was a job. And that's what I think is so hard for kids, where it's, I can be a creative or I can go to medical school. There's so many things in between there. And so I kind of landed on a mix of everything I liked, which was the real life, like food part of medicine, and then talking to people. And those are my two favorite things.
Right.
And so UT has a really good dietetics program. So I was like, I guess I'll just do this.
So you finished your undergrad in human development?
Yeah, so my major is human and child development, and then you basically get a dietetics certificate. So it's kind of like a minor a little bit.
Yeah.
And then you go to get your become a dietitian.
Right.
And that is a 2-year program. Now they make it a 2 to 4-year program because you have to get your master's now to be a dietitian. But I kind of slid in right before that, which was fabulous. So I did a very fast paced. I think mine was only like 9 months long, which was super fast because I was like, I need to, again, me and my now husband had been dating for 7 years. It's like one of us needs to have a job, so
Yep, that makes sense.
So yeah, it was just so perfect. It was like a my favorite parts of medicine without being a doctor. Like I
Right.
really liked.
Did you
So
ever think about doing like osteopathic? I mean,
yeah,
if you're swinging from, like an
yes.
MD, and then maybe you're thinking all the way the other way, osteopathic could be.
Right. So the osteopathic doctors have to do a very similar route of medical school now.
Yeah,
They basically it's like the same
same
thing.
thing.
It's still 4 years of medical school. They learn a little bit different things,
Mm-hmm.
but they honestly have to take harder testing than
Really?
because they have to take more tests, longer tests than
Really?
people in medical school. And then you can practice just like an MD.
Yeah.
So sure, you can go the route of, a functional medicine
Right.
space. But I think I was so not even interested in that,
Mhm.
and then naturopath was so the other direction of like, again, like it's herbs and,
Yeah.
is this accredited? Where is the evidence behind this? Um, and I think nutrition can lean that way sometimes too, which I don't really love.
Yeah.
So dietetics felt very evidence-based, which I really like.
That's
And I
cool.
still try to practice that way. Um, but it's all about food, which is my favorite thing ever.
Yeah,
So,
me too.
so I landed on
I
that.
love food so
Yeah.
much, a little bit too much.
I could talk about food all day long. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's that part of in college where if it's free, I'm eating it
Yep.
kind of mentality. And that stayed with me for far too long. I'm kind of just getting over that.
Totally.
But you're 3 years ahead of me.
Yeah.
Where are we at with free food?
That's a great question. So for me, I was like a little bit poor, definitely poor in high school and in college. I worked all of college at Amazon. I was a
Wow.
delivery driver.
There you go.
Anyway, that being said, such deep poverty going on during that time. I was racking up debt and scraping by. And so what happened is in my life, when I got wealthy enough to pay off all my debt and like feel
Wow.
completely,
Congrats. That's awesome.
yeah, it was
Wow.
great.
That's great.
But then I felt really in control of finances and like my ability to buy whatever I
Yeah.
want.
That's also dangerous.
That's when I got fed
Yeah.
up because
Okay.
I was like, oh my God, I can finally go to a restaurant, once a week, twice a week, or I can go get a Dr. Pepper whenever I want.
The free will
Free
really
will
just
just ruined me.
Yeah.
And so I would say that I really went into a season of deep gluttony, like genuine, like I would say gluttony was actually what was going on there because I swung so far. And then now I don't eat nearly as much. I still do love food, but it's definitely a different relationship because I feel like I crossed some boundaries.
You're like you've gone in and out of all of the phases
Yeah.
with it. Yeah.
So I'm back to I'm probably more of a normal
Okay.
idea of food, but I do.
It's hard to get to
It
after
is. It is.
I'm like gluttony is deep within me,
Yeah.
And I feel like people don't think about that with people that are it's like, "Oh, you're not overweight
Yeah.
or you're," but it's really
Yeah.
it's so weird with my brother and I always talk about this. My brother and I growing up were very like scarcity mentality, like hiding the granola bars.
Yeah.
And then my sister, we grew up in the same house and
Is
she
your
just
brother
did
still
not.
kind of big? Like,
Yes,
okay,
yeah.
okay.
But like both of us, but then Scott will also just like he has a lot of control too. Like both of us kind of have this like weird flip-flop relationship with food. And then my sister had none of that. She has a pantry full of all of the things and just never touches it. And so I am so interested in that with raising my own kids of like, how do I instill this like very neutral relationship with food? Because we had the same parents and some of us got it and some of us didn't. And I'm so thankful that my husband is very neutral. We're not like obsessed with it. We're not gonna like overly think about it. So but then it's so hard because this is my job to think and talk about food all the time. So it's tough to not kind of like instill that in my kids one day,
Do you feel like Camille, having grown up in the Muslim faith and doing Ramadan, helped him?
100%.
I
Yes.
was actually thinking about that.
Yeah. He even, when he became a Christian and we started fasting just for our church,
Yeah.
like just our church
He
did
was
like
so
40
good at
days of
it.
fasting. He was like, I have to stop because I'm gonna,
Really?
he doesn't fast anymore. He might, in the next couple years, but it was getting to the point where it's so easy for him that it wasn't even like a sacrifice or even like a thought.
Yeah.
And so food is just very interesting for that culture.
Yeah.
And I just learned so much from his family. His family is they're so loving,
Yeah.
and food is such a way to express
They
that, which
make
I
good
love.
food
They
too.
make great food. And I
Yes.
love that my mother-in-law,
Yeah.
like, that's a love language that she accepts when I make her food.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is spot on because this is all I know how to do,
That's awesome.
But it is a very, like, we're not going to eat if we're not hungry. We're not, like, when they go on vacations, some of the times, not all the time, they will literally bring a huge cooler of just like food.
Wow.
Like, they don't want to go to the restaurant in Denver because we're in Denver. Like, they might do that now if we were like if the
Yeah.
kids were on vacation with them. But yeah, like, they just are like, food is fuel. And which I think you can live in a healthy balance of like both of those things. But I really could learn a thing or two,
Yeah.
from that mentality.
Yeah.
Because I sure as heck did not grow up thinking that,
Well, I also feel like Mr. Mahesri is like a good image of physical fitness and old age.
He's,
I think that might be food related. I don't know, but
he is like, if you saw his breakfast and lunches, this man, I've never seen someone eat like the serving size of cereal. Like,
really,
he
he's
eats, it's
like a
in like
couple
a
Cheerios.
ramekin. Like,
That's
he's
awesome.
such a simple man,
Yeah.
and I really admire that. And Kamel is like really molding into the same thing.
That's kind of cool.
He'll make oatmeal in the morning, and I'm like, what is that for the cat?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
like,
Sorry, kiss March, right?
no,
Yeah.
it's rude.
Dang.
But yeah, they're both just like that. So hopefully our kids will get that.
I think they probably will, which
Hopefully.
is a great thing. And
Yeah.
honestly, that was going to be one of my questions that I'll probably just ask now. So, like, how do you think that the way that our parents model food for us affects us as eaters?
I've seen so many parents and so adults in my last job talk about their kids, or their kids would be in the session with us, or parents now. And it's like these phrases that we just don't think about.
Mm,
Like, I'll ask mom or dad, what has their weight history been? Obviously, when the kid's not there.
right.
Um, and what is family life like? And they're like, she was just, built big. She's
Right.
not like her sisters. Or they'll be like, I've been overweight my whole life and it's just been such a struggle. And I've been on and off these diets. And there's so much care for their child. That's why they're talking to me. So and also I'm not a mother, so I can't anticipate how hard that is to like separate those two things. But it is you have to be ultra conscious of the words that you're saying, because it's not even just, hey, to your kid, you should eat this and not this. It is everything down to constantly asking your husband, do I look okay in this outfit? I kind of feel fat, or not even saying that word, of just constantly looking to other people for affirmation. That can super affect your kids, because it's like, oh, should I be like looking for validation about my looks? So yeah, there's just a lot of stuff. That's why I always meet with the parents first, just to kind of like catch their vibe. Um, I don't often see kids for weight loss, but when I do, it's because there's a medical reason. So like I literally will not see a child if the parent's just
Yeah.
concerned.
Yeah.
I'll see a child if like endocrinology's on board and they're pre-diabetic or their cholesterol is out of control and they want to go on a statin or something like that.
Kids can have cholesterol out of control.
Isn't that crazy?
That is
Yeah, I mean,
crazy.
kids like,
That's a lifelong struggle
Yeah.
starting so young.
yeah. So I'll obviously jump on board, and I'm very clear to say like we're, the goals of us working together are not X number of pounds. It's your cholesterol coming down or your whatever it is. And so I think just I'm very interested to see this generation of kids, because obviously 90s diet culture did its work on us, but I think there's a thing for every generation that kind of messed with us with food, and I think it's going to work its way into our kids' lives, and hopefully we're a little bit more conscious of that. Um, but I could also see it going in the other way of, this is with everything of like, you do you, whatever you want, um, with food and with your life. And so I could see it going that way too.
Yeah.
But I don't know, with you having a 5-month-old,
Yeah.
and you're like, what have you thought about with that, with food?
With food?
Yeah.
I was actually going to ask you a question about this because I was thinking I grew up with my mom is a extremely diverse eater.
Mm.
Like would order squid eyeballs.
Oh my gosh. So she's like getting after it.
She's getting
Okay.
after the most unique things. And I feel like that translated to me. I love everything except maybe like olives. I think they're too
Those are my
salty.
number one too. Yeah, I
Yeah, I
can't
just
eat them.
can't.
Yeah, I can't do
Too
it.
much. Way too much flavor going on there. And actually gushers also bother me.
Okay, that I
It's a
disagree with you
texture
with.
thing.
They're so
It's just
good.
the blow up.
Nope.
Anyway. And so that was my situation. My wife actually, doesn't, she definitely has increased her food diversity as we've been married,
Mm-hmm.
but prior to that, it wasn't as diverse as what I was
Okay.
eating. I also have like, I love spicy food
Mm-hmm.
and I can't touch it
Yeah.
like from a long distance type
Yeah.
situation. And I think about, I'm curious about with my daughter, I'm fearful actually, if I'm honest, about her not having the deep love
Mm-hmm.
for diverse foods that I have. It's almost a sense of pride to me that I could go to Nigeria
Yeah.
and eat everything
Yeah.
and assimilate to their culture because I think food does communicate a lot.
Yeah.
And I mean, you were talking about that with your mother-in-law.
Yeah.
And so I think I am anxious about Drew uh, being open to foods
Mm-hmm.
and diversifying her food interest. And I'm curious if it's like, in your experience, does genetics play a role at all? Does the culture
Yeah.
play a role? How does that get developed?
So it does. I took a whole class in college called Nutrition and Genes,
Really?
and
For real?
yeah.
I didn't know that.
And so babies in the womb can taste, they can physically
Really?
distinguish what you're eating.
Huh.
And so that definitely does play a role in their taste preferences. There's even some evidence to show that. So like what Anna's mom ate when Anna was in the womb
Really?
can impact
Oh, because
your,
those eggs are in there.
yeah. So it
Wow.
can impact how now your daughter prefers different foods,
Yeah.
which is crazy. So yes, there's definitely a genetic component to it. That's why sometimes you see some kids in the family have a lot of issues with food, and then some kids don't.
Mhm.
It's that mix of nature and nurture, but there is definitely a genetic component to it. Um, the biggest thing with, I think, families will come to me really early on starting solids, or my kid just turned 2 and there's this really natural, developmentally normal swing of my kid was eating everything under the sun starting solids, and then they
Right.
turn like 18 to 24 months and then they're pushing away everything.
Mm.
And so that's a scary time for parents, and so I see a lot of them then. um and really that's a very short session where I say, here are the prevention tactics. Don't do anything else. Don't stress too much, because by the time they're 3, latest 4 thing, and if you've been doing all of these things, which is generally a very short story, just a lot of frequent exposure to differentness.
Okay.
So the main thing is, parents are usually upset of like, I've messed my child up. Like they're done creating these preferences. They're cold as stone. Like
Yeah.
they are just set in their ways, right?
Yeah.
And kids have this really long sensitive period of about 6 months to like 2 years old when they're creating their preferences.
Hmm.
And so one day of your daughter eating chicken nuggets and French fries when she's,
Yeah.
13 months old is not, or even a month of that, honestly. If there's
Yeah.
this big, it's called a food jag, where you just all of a sudden revert and you hate all these foods and you kind of go back to your things. You
Whoa.
throw away all these foods you used to like. That's really normal.
Hmm.
And it's okay for her to have these periods of she's not really eating that many spicy foods and she's pushing
Yeah.
away a lot of stuff. Because it takes a lot, it is the long game when we're talking about food introduction.
Huh.
So even if she is, again, like 14 months and you're not quite there yet where you want to be,
Yeah.
there's a really long time for her to still develop taste preferences. So
Interesting.
a lot of the time when I'm talking to parents, it's like, don't freak out. You're
Mhm.
still doing okay. um, Most of the time, actually, when I see kids is when nothing happened. We didn't do any tactics. We just kind of freaked out and stuck to the same 5 foods when they were 2.
Mhm.
And then now they're 10 and they still eat 5 foods
Yeah.
and nothing's changed. And
Yeah.
now they can't go to sleepovers, and like their quality of life is so much less.
Totally.
But developmentally that kind of like dips, and then we pop back out at 3 to 4 years old and they're totally fine.
Do you see
So
like older kids, like 10-year-olds?
yeah, when I originally started my practice, I thought I was going to see like all
Right.
2-year-olds, because that's when people walk up to you in real
They're more
life the most.
asparagus.
They're
Yeah.
mostly 2 or 3.
Yeah.
But that's because it is really developmentally normal. But I see kids when we've tried it, we've done everything. This is now just really annoying, honestly, and impacting my quality of life, my kids' quality of life. My whole travel schedule life is built off of, are there going to be the right brand of chicken nuggets at the hotel we're staying at,
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and then sometimes I see parents where it's more informational and they're younger. But yeah, unfortunately it is a lot of like 7 to 13-year-olds. And that's usually when something else is going on too. There's OCD, there's ADHD.
Yeah.
I see a lot of autistic kids, and that is very there's so many other practitioners they need to see at the same time as me. So I'll often refer them to either like speech path or like OCD therapy is what we do a lot of. Because there's only so many things we can do with nutrition, honestly.
So I remember being like 10 or 11 or 12, and that's when my parents were like, "Oh, you should try, instead of ordering the cheeseburger at the
Sure.
restaurant,
Yeah.
you should try to order
Yeah.
the stuffed avocado,
Right.
whatever." And it felt like this cool experience for me to like step into adulthood and eat
Yeah.
adult foods.
And like order off the not kids menu.
Yeah, or
Yeah,
not kids
yeah.
menu. I'm so cool. I'm so big. Do you think that it's possible for a kid that only ate the same thing to open up diversity later in their life, or like?
Yeah, I think so if a kid was like 8 or 9, I would still say there's a huge likelihood, because I mean, this is with any person. Like, we won't change unless we see a consequence of the action that we have.
Yeah.
That's the same as, when I was
Anything.
trying to get, liver transplant patient to lose weight. It's like, you literally have gotten a liver transplant
Yeah.
and you still
Yeah.
won't change your actions. Like,
Wow.
there's just, unless we face a consequence, there's really. And so with kids that are 8 or 9, if they're going to school and there's a lot of kids eating other food and they feel a little bit left out,
Yeah.
and not that I love peer pressure, but I think a little bit of that like
Yeah.
peer influence is so helpful for kids that come out of maybe elementary school, and again they're doing sports for the first time and everyone else is able to eat the food that they provided, or for the team, whatever it is. So I think there's a little bit of that peer influence that is honestly really helpful for kids and teenagers. And again, not to the point where it's anxiety inducing, but again, then to some kids, when your parent says, let's try the stuffed avocado, that is like a threat and so scary, because there's that deep anxiety underneath it. For some picky eaters, there's no anxiety and it's a true, I see no consequences. I love sameness. It's not even I love chicken nuggets. I love things being the same and being what I can expect. Every chicken nugget tastes exactly the same, but not every blueberry tastes the same. So some of it is that, and then some of it, there's this like deep rooted anxiety around newness. It's called neophobia. There's just a lot of that. But then for adults, it's kind of the same of like, if there is zero consequence to, I worked with a lot of liver disease patients where it's like, okay, you have, stage 3 liver, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. We're going to have to eat different things, like having that conversation with them, and like still there being a lot of pushback. And then finally we're branching out a little bit, so I think that's just like how humans work, unfortunately. But it's also, there's a genetic component behind interest in food too. So some kids and people are just born with an innate interest in food and not an innate interest in food. And so with a lot of these families, they're so frustrated with their kid because also there's just no interest. It's like, I'm eating because I have to, or else I get a headache, and I don't really care, And so there's no, this is delicious, this is fun. So that's also an element of it too, is just like being patient with, they don't care, That's like me trying to like get you to really, really learn about some random topic and then do it every day, 3 times a day, you know? So just being patient with them is difficult sometimes.
So do kids know, like, are they born with an innate sense of knowing how much to eat? Because you're talking about that 6 to 2 month range. I've
Yes.
seen kids not eat. I've
Yeah.
seen them at dinner tables be like, I'm just not hungry.
Yeah.
And the parents are freaking out, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
So kids have way better hunger and fullness cues called interoception than we do. Like
all right.
way better. They are to be trusted so much more than adults. And I think that that's also where the like diet culture kind of comes in with our kids is, and this, I struggle with this too, of like, I might not be hungry, but it's dinner time, you know,
Yes.
like I'm going to eat because that's my structure of my day.
Right.
Versus kids, you know, and to me, if my child one day was like, you know, I'm really not hungry, I don't want a snack, even though they always do,
Right.
it's hard for me to not just trust that.
Yeah.
But they have such better, because they haven't been burdened by emotion, and they don't put emotion into food quite yet. When that starts actually pretty young because they're learning that food is an element that gives them like control over their day too, and comfort. So every kid is a little different. Some kids, they are saying yes or no to food to place some sort of control. And that's why picky eating kind of starts at 2, is because they learn that. They learn if I say yes or no, I can have things that I want, or I don't have things that I don't want, you know?
Yeah.
And so they're learning all of that exciting independence and autonomy, and also that they have a lot of control over their surroundings for the first time. But kids have a very good fullness hunger cue. So when parents will ask me like, how much do I feed my kid? How the heck do I know where to start? You know, there are like rough guidelines I can give, but honestly, the variety is key, but then they will tell you, like, truly.
That's crazy.
Which again, we don't trust ourselves to tell us, like,
Yeah.
as about, you know, I'm a finish your plate kind of
Yes,
gal.
me too.
So kids are just a lot better at stopping when they're full, which is such a insane concept to most adults. So yeah.
I'm going to ask a question that you might not even be able to answer because I don't know if this is in your realm, but I have a lot of friends that, and myself, that like my foster baby, he was just the tiniest little baby, no matter how much we gave him food wise.
How old was he when you guys had him?
We had him from 2 months to 11 months.
Oh, wow. That's an exciting time to
Yeah, it
have
was
a
a
baby.
lot.
Wow.
It was a lot. It was a big time. And that whole time, he really didn't ever put on very much weight. And of course, there's reasons for that. But in general, like, I don't think that he just wasn't a baby that was going to be chunky. And then there's babies that are my daughter is very chunky.
Cute. She's so cute.
And then, so there's that dynamic. And then there's the dynamic of like children, right? I've seen children, and I don't have like a 5-year-old or anybody in that age, but I've seen children that are overweight, and I've seen children that seem to be probably underweight or close to it. And then of course, like teenagers, like when I was 11, I caked on weight at Collins Intermediate
I was a
School.
chunky little kid too.
Yeah.
I was,
And then I grew up and I just got really tall really quick, and then kind of all disappeared. And then I was 30 and I'm just kidding. No,
take you through my trauma.
Yeah, checking through my trauma. But my question is, when I asked the question about do kids know how much to eat, of course, that's amazing that they do. What do we do in instances when there are like kids that are like really big, and then like, do they still know, or is there something going on? And then also the babies, the difference between a chunky baby and a skinny baby.
Yeah.
What's going on there? Is that genetic? That's a big question, and I don't know.
No. Yeah. Yeah, it was the same way. If you like saw a picture of my siblings, it was like me and my brother were just chonksters. And then my sister looked like a string bean, you know, and it was like, and people used to always say like, oh, you and your sister look so much alike.
Yeah,
and I'm
you
like,
do,
sure.
though.
Now
You
we
do.
do.
Yeah,
Now we look
yeah.
very similar. But when we were little, it was like, like what happened to that last one, you know? She's so pale and so fat, you know? But yeah, so there truly is like nothing to worry about if your kid is larger or smaller at birth, especially if they're on their growth curve.
Okay.
And that's your pediatrician's role, is to say, even if they're at that's kind of the misconception with the growth curve, is the percent doesn't matter as much as if they stay on that same curve.
Okay.
So if they're at like the 90th percentile or the 10th percentile, those are both okay. If they drop in the curves, especially more than 2 like lines on the curve,
Okay.
that's when it's like failure to thrive. We need to see a dietitian or a speech path or something like that. So both of those are great. Chunky babies, little babies,
All the
they're
same.
totally fine. Yeah. But like I was saying, that kind of like emotional concept of food, comfort, I have control, does come into play really early for kids. Like I said, for me, that came into play really early. It was like, it was almost like an autonomy thing too. Like I remember like hiding, like,
Well, if you have siblings,
right, like
yeah.
hiding. My thing was always oatmeal cream pies. Like those are so
Wow.
good. And I would hide them and then eat them when everyone went to bed. Like this was truly like not okay. And I wish, you know, if that behavior now would be like diagnosed with something.
Right.
But it was this period of like gluttony, yes, but also like I'm doing this by myself. I'm like having a meal by myself. I'm like so like elevated, you know. And it also was just comfort, like because I can, because you don't have much free will when you're 11, and you know. So I think whenever I see kids, if they're below like 7, I don't talk to them directly. I usually talk with parent and refine their wording and make sure that what they're saying is like on par. Obviously, we'll get to the logistics of like what are you actually supposed to feed them? What are you supposed to offer them? But then a lot more of it than what the parents usually want is like behavioral and how to speak to them. And then if the kid is over usually 7, it kind of depends on the kid. And I'll let the parent like help me with that. But then I'll see them at least once or twice. And usually we're eating a meal together when that's happening, just so the kid is like relaxed, or I'll have them like do their homework while they're talking to me, like something that makes them a little bit more like they're not in front of the camera like that. And so we will talk a lot about like, what did you eat for dinner last night? Who chose that? Did you pick that? So it's a lot more like, why did you choose the things? How did you feel after you ate that thing? What did mom or dad say to you about dinner? And it's frustratingly a very slow process with kids, because if you go too direct, they know it. It's not helpful. You know, it's kind of like therapy with kids. Like it really, one session is so unhelpful.
Yeah.
And a lot of times too, like the root at what I'm trying to get at with them is like, is there another emotion of why you're eating that food? And this is the same conversation I would have with like myself or 50-year-old men at my old job. It's like, is it, especially at the end of the day, is it like I'm bored? Is it I'm sad? Is it I'm happy? Is it I'm understimulated? Because all day I've been like doing something and now I just feel so understimulated. That's a much lengthier conversation with a child, but the goal is to come up with like other coping mechanisms besides eating for those emotions.
Right.
So if I'm understimulated or I'm bored or I don't have a hobby, or I mean, these sound so simple, but that is truly at the root of most eating that's not because I'm hungry. It's because it's a coping mechanism for something else. And again, with adults, sure, we could have this conversation in 5 minutes, but implementing it and doing it is really hard because we have so much free will.
Totally.
But with kids, it's just a really long process because you don't want to come out and say that. You want them to kind of like get to that on their own, which is hard.
Kids, I mean, like kids do play therapy because you can't just talk to
100%.
them. You need to like play and like be like, oh, well, what does this doll think? You know? And then like create you need to inception them. You need to put it in their brain and spin the top. If you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. But
with adults, it's so funny though, because like when you see a dietitian as an adult, it's like, great, I want to lose 10 pounds by February or whatever. Like everything is so like objective. And with kids, it's so much more subjective. And that just takes a lot of time for me and parent to, every time I see a family, the first thing I talk about is like, what are we looking for? What is the goal? Because with you, and if you were seeing me, the goal would be your labs, your numbers, your this, and that's just not what we're doing here.
Yeah.
So it just takes forever,
That is really
unfortunately.
tough. And
But
do you, like, I remember when my parents would go to the grocery store, I had two younger sisters. They would get like strawberries and a bag. I've mentioned hot Cheetos a lot, but that was
because
like,
they're important to your
it's a big
childhood.
part of the, but I ate a lot of hot Cheetos and Takis, which I'm not allowed to eat anymore from
Okay.
my wife.
Sure.
We can't keep them at the house. So if I ever eat them, it's like at a bachelor trip at a
Sure.
gas station.
And you
Like,
go crazy.
I
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
no, I actually don't even really get them anymore unless they're, yeah. Anyway, but my mom would get home from the grocery store and she'd unload the groceries, and then my sisters would run and grab the strawberries and tank those things, eat the whole thing of strawberry. And it was
Yeah.
like a power thing in our house to like be the person that was home at the time that mom got
Right.
home from groceries to eat the thing that you wanted, because if you didn't eat it now, your
It's the
sibling, it's
scarcity
going to
mentality.
disappear.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know if I had a question around that or if I'm just venting, but
No, well, that's the kind of thing. And like, there's these things in our childhood where you look back and you're like, wow, that was kind of
it's
a red
psycho.
flag, or like, you know. And now the thing you can do as a parent, if you're noticing these behaviors, is like straight up say like, hey, Anton, like there will be more of this. Like
Next week.
you are so loved. Like
Yeah.
there is going to be more. And like, what else can we do? Talk to me about what you feel like is happening right now. You know, like I just wish someone would have said it out loud, you know, what I was doing, because it felt so, it didn't even, not that I needed to like label something as like an eating disorder or something like that. But I just wish someone would have been like, what, like,
Yeah.
you're okay, you know,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
because I think there's a lot of that in kids that just kind of like goes unnoticed. Or I'll see parents and I'm asking, like, I'm noticing that your kid is like touching the fork 3 times every time he's
Is it
eating.
OCD or something?
Yeah, and it's like, oh yeah, he just like does that. And it's like, well, like that is like crucial to his like eating routine, and like let's actually talk about that and talk about out loud like, hey, what buddy, why are you doing that? Like, and obviously you can like get professionals on board, but yeah, I just think if you see like behaviors in your child, like it's okay to like have a direct conversation, because you know your child,
Totally.
just like about those behaviors that seem a little, that could totally snowball into something.
So kind of pivoting, but on the
Yeah.
same topic, of course, starting your own practice, doing your own business, that is a lot. It's a huge
As
leap.
you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, how was that? I mean, you didn't take any business classes, I'm assuming, in college.
None.
How'd you know what to do, and how'd you get where you're at?
Yeah, I kind of didn't
Okay. Yeah.
know what to do. I just learned a lot as I went. But yeah, so I was working at my old job and was applying for new jobs for so long, like just took forever. And that's such a humbling process of like, but with nutrition, there's a lot of avenues you could do. There's like clinical. So I was in an outpatient clinic, which means I was just seeing patients 24/7, but not in the hospital. We were in the medical center. It was like kind of right next to it. I knew I didn't want to go back into a hospital. But then I didn't really want to you could do like food service, you could manage like a food service establishment. Um, Kind of the thing I wanted to do didn't exist, or it would be me working for another dietitian, like building up her
Her
empire, like her thing. And that also I couldn't really find a space for either. And so I am not a very entrepreneurial person. Like that is not in my family. We don't take risks like ever. And even when I told my parents, like, I'm going to start my own practice, they were like,
just imagine.
no. And like my parents are so like, they love me so much. They're like, think I'm a star. Like I'm like true youngest child, But then when I told them, I was genuinely shocked that they were like, well, maybe just like stay at your old job, because I always, the thing in your head of when you start your own business is, oh, I was just making so much money that I had to quit my day job. And I would love for that to have been my story.
It's nobody's story, really,
but
I
it
don't think.
wasn't. It was not. Yeah, I was just very, Unhappy at my last job, mostly because I was talking about weight loss all day. Like that's just like not my favorite thing to do. That's not why I got into nutrition. Um, and I was just kind of becoming like a bad spouse, like no one wants to like come home and complain about their job all day,
Yeah.
And I'm so lucky that my husband is he's so good at like being very comforting when I need comfort and just listening and not hear all your solutions. But then when
Yeah.
it gets to a point where it's like, I just like want good for you, why don't you just try it? I'd had my blog forever. I started that like when I became a dietitian, honestly, just for fun, because I didn't get a job in pediatrics like I wanted. I just kind of got whatever came to me because, my husband's in medical school. I'm going to take whatever job I can get. Um, but I really loved pediatrics. And so I started this blog more as like let me learn about pediatrics because I did all these rotations and internships in like the NICU and, all these children's hospitals. But after that, there's not a lot of knowledge that I had, right? And so my blog in the beginning, it's kind of funny to like read the posts now. They're honestly like research articles. It's like, what are questions that I don't know that I should know as a dietitian about pediatrics? Let me do all this research about it and then come up with this like research article that no one's reading. Like literally no one. No one on Google is finding this.
Yeah.
And then kind of as I was developing it a little bit more, I was like, let me like make this an actual thing. And so I took a course in SEO, and really got to like redo my whole online presence a little bit. And so people were able to actually like find my resources more, which was really, it made me say like, oh, okay, I guess I could like maybe do something like this, because the stuff I'm making isn't just for like my aunt and my mom on Facebook. It's for people and they're finding it. I wasn't making a ton of money off of it, but it was like enough to get me excited about it. Um, and then, yeah, I think I was just kind of like forced into, I got to do something else, which I'm so grateful for because I would have never done it if
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
didn't feel like this was the only option. Um, so I kind of just figured everything out as I went. Um, Lots of asking other friends, lots of my sister-in-law is a lawyer, so she's like writing all of my contracts for me.
Wow.
And Connor wrote some for me. So lots of friends, lots of messing up, um, and just kind of like going for it. I feel like most people don't talk about too, like the financial security of having a spouse that is going to have a salary is huge.
Yeah.
Like, you really can't just like jump out on a limb and have no
Yes.
option.
100%.
I did. So I started in last year when that was our only salary though. So we really did, but we knew that he was gonna start residency this year. But I think that's kind of like an unspoken thing that like I think people should like talk about more. Like it is like such a privilege to like he will get out of medical school one day and like be a doctor. And if this little thing that I'm doing like doesn't work out one day, like that's okay. And that's just like a big privilege that not everyone has, is to say like our salary will change one day whether or not
Yeah.
mine is my business is successful. And that's made me be able to have a lot of fun with this and like
Totally.
do whatever I want, which is awesome. But that stability and like future stability has been really helpful for sure.
Tell me a
So
little bit about the SEO class because I have
yeah.
friends that would probably really benefit from something like that.
Yeah. So it actually was a class this is like so niche, but it was specifically for dietitians who have online presences. I know.
That's very nice.
And this girl is a superstar. I mean, mostly for dietitians. There are other like healthcare providers. But blogging is a whole different game now because of Google AI and just AI in general.
Yeah.
And so it's really not as lucrative as it used to be. I mean, because Google AI didn't used to exist and anything, you used to be able to write a blog like, how much potassium is in a banana or whatever. And you could literally make ad money from someone clicking on that. And
That's
now no
crazy.
one's clicking on that.
Yeah.
And so now you still can make a bit from saying like, 5 fiber supplements I would recommend as a pediatric dietitian. It's like you don't want to listen to Google AI for that kind of thing. So you can do more like curated recommendations. And that's always fun because you get to just like reach so many more people with that. So there is still a place for that, but this SEO course was lengthy and it took you through not only how to show up on Google, but making sure how to be credible, how to look credible for Google, how to make sure that your website is getting like backlinks from other stuff. So it would teach you like how to get quoted in like, New York Post and like Healthline and all these sort of things. That's really helpful to get your website to show up places, which is nice. And I'm very grateful because the RD credential is still very respected in like the food community. And so a lot of the times when I would get paid, and even now, like a lot of my work now is just working with like kids' food brands, and I'm not getting paid because of my follower count, which is nothing compared to these like mom influencers,
Yeah.
I'm getting paid because they value my credential, which is awesome. And that isn't the same for all, professions these days.
Right.
So the SEO is really big if you have some sort of credential. Like Google actually really listens to that, which is nice. So it's just about like showing it correctly on your website, which is good.
Interesting.
So yeah.
I noticed, obviously, I do research before I
Yeah.
do these, and I went to your Instagram and your website, and there's like a brand partnership situation on your Instagram,
Yeah.
like, or your all links or something like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, I wonder, I was curious what that even looked like for you, but it does sound like
Yeah.
you're making money from brands.
That's
I
like
didn't know.
80 I probably
Really?
make 80% of my income from that.
Wow.
But yeah, it's so crazy how, I mean, just, a business model of seeing patients is not ever the business model that I wanted my entire business to run on. Like,
Yeah.
especially like time for money, like my one-on-one patient interaction is not conducive to a salary that can grow, because I only have so much time and bandwidth. And so the brand work is honestly just so fun, and it's not as I don't want to say, it's really not as much hard work as seeing patients, and it's just really fun. And you get to reach so many more people because a lot of what I do is I'll make some of the stuff is on my own Instagram. If brands like care to do that, it kind of is up to them. But a lot of it, most of it is creating for them. So I'll make like visual or written content for brands. So, if they want to run an ad from a dietitian about their pouches or their whatever it is, then I'll make the content for them. It never goes on my page at all. And
Wow.
it'll just be from the brand.
Do you get tagged or anything, or is it?
Sometimes they'll do what's called whitelisting, which is where it'll show up as the pediatric dietitian. But if you click on my account, it's not actually there.
Okay.
So it's just a more like authentic looking way to display an ad, basically. But then most of the time, no, like they'll just run the ad. Or a lot of times I'll write for companies, which is really fun. So that's like if you Googled like, best fiber supplement for your kid or how much grams of fiber should my 4-year-old be eating?
That's right.
They will, because their website has a lot more, they call it Google juice. It like shows up on Google more. Then my blog post that I wrote will show up on their website. But since you're already on that website and something that I recommended in that blog post is from them, it's basically like a way for brands to become this like resource of information. It's just more ways to get people to come to their website, basically, is to have informative posts and stuff like that.
Right.
So I'll do some of that for brands, which is fun to just like not feel like a Instagram ad all the time.
Totally.
It's like I can write like research articles for brands, basically. So that's been really fun too.
And you're the only one that can do that. I mean, they can't write that because they're
sure
not,
they could, and sometimes they do.
Sometimes they do.
Right. But I've been very like refreshed at how kids nutrition brands like actually like value dietitians and value like nutrition education, which is so cool. Like obviously there are some brands that I don't work with, but they'll literally send me a script of like, say this, and it's like, I mean, sure, I have morals and I don't want to say anything that's nutritionally wrong, but most of the time I'm like, this is just so cheesy. Like, ugh, But then brands like Cerebelly, I love them because they're like, what do you want to teach about? Like,
Yeah.
what do you want to do? You know, some of the times it doesn't remotely come back to a pouch, and sometimes it does. But like, I think it's just cool that I like truly get to just use their huge following
Mm-hmm.
to like share nutrition education, which is
That's
just
awesome.
fun. So
And that's honestly not to piggyback, but a little bit to piggyback. That's what I'm trying to do with this podcast
yeah,
is
that's
give
cool.
women who are doing really cool things the microphone
Yeah.
rather than being like, say this about being a mom.
Right.
As a girl dad, I want my daughter to see this. I genuinely am like,
Yeah.
it's really most interesting to hear what
Yeah.
your authentic experience is because like even in the sense of someone looking for nutritional data, the authentic response from a nutritionist who cares and
Yeah.
research deeply is going to be much more valuable than something you come up with for your brand to make money. Like,
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, and I guess that's the whole reason they're doing it that
Yeah.
way, but
Which I was shocked at, you know, like
that's pretty awesome.
it's a business at the end of the day. Like I get it. Like you have to sell product
Yeah.
but yeah, it makes me excited to like have a child and like with products that are actually like they really do care, you
Mhm.
know. It's not just like marketing BS of
That's
like,
good.
you know.
That'll be when Drew starts eating solids. I'll be giving you a call
Yeah,
every day, being like, okay,
please
so which one
do.
now? Which one now?
Yeah.
And so like you do see patients still, right?
Yeah. So
How
that's
do you deal with billing? Because I work with doctors
yeah.
who do billing, and I'm like, this seems like a nightmare.
It is. But I don't take insurance, which
Oh,
is yeah.
okay, never mind,
Literally,
you're
no,
good.
literally. And I totally would if that
Yeah.
was 100% of my business model, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
But I don't see enough patients for that to make sense.
Cool.
And pediatric nutrition, you know, with things like counseling, what is it, like BetterHelp? You know how
Yeah,
they have like
BetterHelp,
it's
yeah.
very accessible to get a
Mhm.
counselor. They're kind of doing the same thing with dietitians
Really?
now. There's a couple different companies where it's like,
Actually,
yeah,
my GLP-1 has
yes,
a nutritionist attached to my
yes, it's like
doctor for the
Nourish
Yeah.
and there's a couple other ones.
Yeah.
But they haven't, so therefore it's very hard now for people who have a private practice who see adults to like get clients who want to pay out of pocket. But pediatric nutrition doesn't really do that yet. So
Nice.
there is people, and it's not like I'm charging an arm and a leg, and it's like people who actually who will say, you know, like I've had it with these terrible, you know, doctors who give me like 6 minutes about my kid and then I don't know what to do. So I think it's definitely worth it to parents, especially because there's not other resources out there.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Tell me something about your life, your story, whether that be work or maybe personal, that you're really proud of that you don't feel like gets spotlighted or that people don't recognize about you.
Yeah, I can't tell whether to take like business or personal. I feel like if I were to answer this like honestly, because like with business, it because you know this as a business owner, like every month is so different.
Mhm.
Obviously, when you've had it for longer, things even out a little bit and like it gets a little bit more um, you know, not as like how's this month gonna be, you know? But it just feels like very worldly, like in terms of like this is gonna come and go. Like I really do love what I do now, but it's not like my life, you know? And so I am very proud of my business and like what I do. But I think like really like what came to mind first, I think I'm just proud of within my marriage and my relationship with my in-laws. Like that has been something that my husband and I have worked so hard on.
Mhm.
And I think like that relationship has made my life better in every single way. Like it, you know, my in-laws are so wonderful and we didn't have a great relationship in the beginning because my husband converted to Christianity, and they are still Muslim. And it was just like really rocky in the beginning. Like they almost didn't come to our wedding. Like they came like the day before. They were like, okay, we'll come.
Yeah.
And they only came to the reception. Just it's like which looking at it now, and my sister-in-law just got married and like seeing the whole wedding process and what that was supposed to have looked like
Yeah.
for my mother-in-law's
Jealous.
first.
I want to go to one of
They're
those.
so fun.
They look awesome.
They're literally like a week and a half
Yeah,
long.
they look great. I'm
Um,
jealous, but yeah.
but just like getting such a deep like empathy for her of like truly, I'm learning every day what she gave up in order to like love me and have me a part of the family. And like looking back, like when they just came to our reception, I was like, ugh, you know, like it was just this, like, my goodness, like I wish they were more accepting. But it's just like now, like knowing them and loving them, like they really, really have come, like they have moved mountains to have me in their family. And that was like a lot of work on both of our parts. But I think I'm just like proud to be in their family and proud to like have worked so hard on that relationship. And yeah, again, they just like make my life so much better. They're so fun and they're great. And it's cool. Like in Pakistani culture, your family is like your whole unit. Like they and Kamal's sister and her husband and us, like they see us just as much as like family, which can have, you know, it's like me and my husband are our own family too.
That's right.
But the pros of that are like so beautiful. Like they just see us as like, if I called my mother-in-law right now and was like, I need you to drive 6 hours to come change a car tire, she'd be like, cool, on my way. Like there's just like no question about whether they would like be there for you. And so I just like, I think I am so proud of how far that relationship has come and how much it's changed our lives for sure. And it really teaches me about like, my kids are going to make decisions one day, you know, and like, how do I want to act as a parent? And no one's perfect, but they've definitely like been huge, wonderful role models in that. So
That's amazing.
yeah, they're awesome.
I obviously I missed out on a lot of that season. I was friends with you guys in high school, but I
Yeah.
don't think I ever knew when Camilla
Yeah.
had converted or anything about
Yeah.
that. How was like that sounds turbulent to go through in a relationship in general. Like I can't imagine what his experience would be like
Yeah.
if that would roll over into your relationship, but like to change your entire like faith
Everything.
system.
Yeah.
It seems intense.
Yeah, it for sure was.
How was I mean like how was that?
Yeah. So in Islam too, like, and this sounds kind of bad to say, like for Christianity, if you're like, yeah, I would consider myself a Christian, but not really, you can kind of slide by, like
Right.
never thinking about
don't have to do
Jesus.
much.
Yeah. In Islam, like not only are you praying multiple times a day, there are 101 events a month that you have to go to. Like there are so many
Holidays.
things. I mean,
Yeah.
his parents are in Sri Lanka right now,
Yeah.
like celebrating something. Like
Yeah.
it is just like,
You have to
it's a
make the
lot.
pilgrimage at some point
Oh
in
my
your
gosh, Kamal
life.
shaved his head in high school. Like
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
really, yeah. And so there's this, it is your whole life. Like truly it is, and it's really respectable, like how much effort they are putting into like all of it. And so for him, I mean, he went to like Young Life camp in high school, you know? Yeah.
Yeah.
And he remembers, it's funny, he was like, I'm going to go and I'm going to like still be Muslim at the end of this. Like he was doing it almost to like stick it to him that I'm still not going to be Christian.
And his best friends
Yeah, all of them.
were like all
Yeah.
Christians. And, yeah.
But I think with what I love about him so much is he really cares to know like what is true. And that I think you can't teach or like try to get someone to do. So many people that are Muslim, Christian, Jewish, like they just don't care to know if what they believe in is true. And I think in college he like really started thinking about that. And I was so thankful that that was like independent of me. I mean, obviously I was a big influence in his life, but so was, again, his entire friend group was Christian. And so I think it was just like really challenging to, I mean, because again, in Islam, it's like he memorized like most of the Quran. Like these things are just like in you for forever. And I think it was also just like heartbreaking with his parents. Like
I can't imagine.
he loves his parents. Like Kamal doesn't love, I mean, he loves me, but he loves his dad. Like he's obsessed with his dad. And so I think that was just like really hard. I mean, Kamal like went, when he told his dad that he was a Christian, his dad had him drive to Giddings, Texas. Like they all drove. Kamel's dad would bring their imam, who is like the pastor of their, like a pastor, and they would like debate theology for like a whole semester, like every Saturday.
That's that gives me goosebumps. That sounds intense.
Yeah, in like a
Sounds
Starbucks.
hard.
Like,
Yeah.
Kamel was like, I'm sure everyone was like, here
What
they
is
are
going
again,
on?
you know?
Yeah.
But I think that just made just the best version of Kamel. Like I'm so lucky that I get to be married to someone who loves Jesus and chose that and like always chooses that and has to be in awkward, uncomfortable situations all the time because he loves Jesus, but he's gonna still talk about it and do it. And I think it's like a fine line between like I really, my biggest thing is like I want to be super respectful to Kamel's parents. So obviously we're not gonna like, you know, talk at them or like talk to people, you know, anything. But I think it's been like a long journey, but it's made him so much more it's made him love Jesus so much more. It's made him a lot more bold in general and bold in his faith, which I think is so awesome in a husband, you know. So he was definitely a like a mama's boy, and he still is. He loves his parents so much. But it's so cool like he gets that relationship back with them now, which has been awesome. So
That's crazy.
yeah.
As someone that has married, I mean, obviously I'm somewhat similar to my wife as far as upbringing, but also very different.
Yeah.
And his family, like cotillions a thing. I got yelled at for wearing a hat to the table the first time I met.
Wow. I mean, there's a Picasso on the wall. Like I can understand.
Yeah. And this is not, I mean,
Right.
my house growing up.
Did you take the hat off?
I did.
Okay.
This is the first day I met him. And he's like, "Why are you wearing a hat?" And I was like,
and you're like, I don't know, I'm stupid.
Yeah,
That's why.
like threw it on the ground, stomped on it. Like I never cared about this hat. And then like forearms on the table, you can't do that. No elbows on the table. Silverware has to be set up a certain way.
Right.
It's very serious. So Anna's dad's mom, BB, she was just the most like proper woman and the sweetest lady.
Yeah.
But I found myself, you know, having grown up in the
Yeah.
pig pen, honestly, that was kind of like I grew up in a very different situation. My mom had dogs that were not potty trained that would go to the bathroom in our house.
Right.
Like, you know, like I had some times with CPS, like some things happened in my life.
Right.
And it was such an intense culture shock for me to try to assimilate to this family. And I was wondering, did you feel similarly in the dating period?
Yeah.
And then obviously being married, but like, what is that like?
Yeah.
How was that like?
I was thinking about this the other day, actually. It's so fun that I think some people are very like in group, out group when it comes to like something my family does. And Kamel's parents could not be more opposite. They love like whenever Kamel's mom comes back from Pakistan, there's like a whole suitcase of like outfits for me. Like she just like loves like putting bangles on me, and like they're very like open about that. They love that I'm like learning the language. So I think it's like always this line of like, I want to show you that I am like so invested in this. And it's so fun getting to like learn about Kamel's like life growing up and stuff like that. But like I'm so invested, but also, you know, making sure that it's like, but this is what I believe in too. You know, like that's a really difficult line that we're like honestly still working through. But, you know, I think it's like so fun because now that we have this relationship with them, I always told like my sister and my friends, like, I need to just never complain about my in-laws because I have them and I have, you know, and like, I think part of that like cultural shift and like learning all this stuff, and Camilla will always like mess with me. Like if we're at like an event and I like sit down, he's like, "You're not allowed to do that." You know, he'll like make me like feel bad. No, it's so bad.
That is awesome.
Or like it's called
that.
salam. Like when you greet someone, you like touch their hand and then you kiss their hand. And if I like salam the wrong person, he's like, you know, he's like making fun of me. And then I'm like, now I'm just this white girl in the room, like freaking salaming the wrong people.
Oh gosh.
But it's made like when you have something like that, it makes you not complain about the classic stuff that like married people complain about, like their in-laws or, you know, just like marital stuff. Like I think going through something like hard together just like always makes you
100%.
like, you know, complain about it less. Do you wear hats with your in-laws now?
I don't wear hats.
Okay. Like how far have you come?
Oh man, so astronomically far.
Okay. I mean, we're sitting in their house.
We're sitting in their house.
So
Let me tell you, I'll be so honest with you, and then I got a couple questions and we'll wrap up. But when I was dating Anna, you know, a lot of my story, the reason I do the job that I've been in sales and do what I do is like I just needed to prove that I was more than the situation I came from. It was like a desperate need. And so when I was dating Anna, you know, like the first date that we went on, I took her to San Antonio. We went the Riverwalk. We came back, and she brought me to her apartment. And her apartment had a movie theater in it, and I was like, "What the hell?" Like she had like a straight up, you know, the villas on.
of course.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, of course.
And I was just like, "What is this?" And throughout my dating experience, I was exposed to more of this, you know, take my hat off and always be the person to get up and grab the dishes and wash them because I'm the son of the family type thing, and leaving everything in a better condition than when I found it. Like if we're going to grill today, it's 4th of July, shout out America. But if I were to leave the grill, like having char on it and Andrew came back, I would be chastised. Right. And so I like take everything with a lot more care. So it was a huge adjustment. And when I asked Anna's dad's permission to marry Anna,
how was that?
the first time, I had to ask twice.
Okay.
The first time
Were you wearing a hat the first time?
It was like, take that damn hat off and then we'll talk again. No, we went to a restaurant and I asked him, and I told him about all the things that I've overcome in my life. I was like, you know, I came from this situation. Now I'm here. You know, financially we're set up, all that kind of stuff. He didn't care about any of that, I don't think. And he asked me to wait a year to ask again in a year.
Wow.
And so I was devastated.
Yeah.
And I went to a lot of my mentors and friends in my life and asked them, like, what should I do? Like Anna wanted to be married too. You know, we had some discussions around it. And she said, and they would all say like, screw him. Like, screw your father-in-law, go get married to your future wife. And I felt like and thought about it and prayed about it a lot. And I was like, there's no reason for me to mess up this family unit that is incredible for my wife and the support system for her. And there's no reason for me to damage that relationship forever. And so like I should buckle up and wait a year. And so I waited an entire year, and I was really
And was Anna just like, what the heck?
Kind of.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. She told me that at one point she was like, if you don't propose to me by the end of the summer, I'm going to propose to you. And I was like, that sounds kind of sick.
Like, literally, please.
I was like, flash mob, let's go. No, but like I had planned out the full engagement that for someone else before, you know, and so I was like, but this comes full circle because that year later we met and I asked him again and he cried and he was like, I didn't expect you to like show that kind of reverence. You didn't have to, you know, like I asked you to, but you didn't have to. And now I would say that I am fully, I'm getting goosebumps, but I'm fully integrated into this family in a way that's
so
like,
sweet.
I am their kid. Like we're sitting in their house, you know, and like, this is how it is all summer. And we're about to go spend 8 weeks with them up in Colorado.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And so I tell that story to say that I resonate with your experience of like getting into a family with a different culture and maybe not being accepted at the beginning and going through it and weeping about it because you love somebody and you want to, and then ultimately coming to a point of such beautiful mutual respect that it's like enriching everybody's lives more. So I want to applaud you for that because that's incredible.
No, I mean, I'm sure as a parent now, you're probably like have so much more respect, even more so for your parents and her parents. Like you just like love this thing you made so much, you know, like I think I mean, do you feel like now having a child, you're like, I'm so glad I have my in-laws in my life in that way? Like
they're the strongest support system. And they love Drew so much. And I don't think I could do it without them. And What's something that younger Lauren would be shocked about today about adult Lauren?
Hmm.
Like young, I guess, teenage Lauren.
I mean, I think that I love working.
Yeah.
um, I used to think that I was like lazy or didn't wanted to, just because it was that same thing of like, I don't really want to go to medical school. Why does everyone else want to do this? And then when I got to my job, even as a dietitian, and I was like seeing patients, it's like, I don't like this. Like, just always thinking that I was lazy. Um, and finally doing something that I really love. And I think there's value in doing something you don't love for a long time. I think you grow better doing that. And not everyone needs to have like their dream job. And my dream job is what I'm doing now. And it's not like I'm raking it in, all the time, but it's like, I think I would be shocked to know that I love working and probably won't ever see myself not working
Wow.
in some capacity.
Yeah.
I mean, my job is very easy to like scale down and that kind of thing. But I can't ever see myself not doing this, which I really love. Yeah.
That's awesome.
What about you?
Oh man, I'd be shocked about everything.
Yeah, that's true. You had a very different.
Yeah, I could have never imagined this life that I live now, which I'm super thankful
Yeah.
for. But yeah, I would have been so shocked.
At every element of it.
Yeah, I did not have very high aspirations, just because I hadn't had it modeled for me.
Yeah.
So
Look what the Lord did.
yeah, honestly,
Yeah.
He changed me.
Yeah.
Like I am a different person, 100%. The last question that I have for you is, of course, this podcast is to give my daughter role models and show her what it means to be ladylike. So my question is what does it mean to be ladylike in your modern
Great
definition?
question. That's a wonderful question. Yeah, I think, and this sounds like it might go like one or two ways. I think like being really passionate about what you're doing while at the same time having really, really deep respect for like the people that put you in the place to do that, I think is huge. So what I mean by that, not like you do what you want to do all the time, like throw caution to the wind, but like I think I feel like I'm finally at the stage in my life as an adult now where I actually feel like an adult because I'm doing something that I'm really passionate about every single day, while at the same time having this like deep, deep connection to like my parents and my husband and my husband's parents. Like these people that like I truly couldn't have got there without them. And I think like as you're maturing when you're a teen girl and like you just kind of don't have either of those things. You like don't have a deep reliance on your parents because you're like, I'm gonna do whatever I want to do. And then you kind of hate your life too. Like you hate what you're doing and you're not passionate about anything. And so there's that journey to get there. But I think I'm really grateful that I have like that balance of both of those things now. That it's not like I got here because of my hard work. I don't think that's like the goal. So I think the balance of those two things.
That's
for sure.
awesome.
Yeah.
It's funny. Everybody that's answered that question has said it's a balance of two things.
Really? That's
Yeah,
funny.
like,
Okay. I can't wait to listen to all of them.
Yeah, very interesting answers. I feel like a lot of people talked about grit and grace. Like I work really hard, but I also am like graceful in my work.
Yeah.
I don't know, but maybe it's a universal experience.
Yeah.
For women. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's like.
It's hard to be.
Tell me I'm done.
No. But
I'm surprised having this podcast. Like, you could get into that water so easily, and you never. That's so great that you're like. You even said one thing today that's like, this is probably your experience, isn't it? Like that's hard to do as a human, as me, and just talking to women all the time on this podcast. Like, that's great. You're obviously very good at it.
Want to assume because if I assume it makes an ass out of you and me, you know what I mean?
Right.
No.
That's human. That's not like men to women. Like
no, totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
But more to men to women.
I think a little bit. I was gonna say, but I was like,
it's gender slightly. But
it definitely is. Well, thank you for being on the podcast.
Of course, it was so fun.
Tell that camera,
Lovely.
and maybe probably just that camera.
Okay. I'm ready.
Where they can find you, how they can get with you, whether it be brands or people.
Yes. So I have a blog. It's just called The Pediatric Dietitian with dashes in between. And that's where you can, if you want to become a patient, if you want resources, they're all on my website. And then my Instagram is just The Pediatric Dietitian as well. And that's just even more resources. I'm pretty good these days about like answering DMs and stuff like that. So a lot of the times my patients are just people that ask me a million questions and then they're like, you know what, I'll actually see you. So yeah, just any pediatric nutrition questions, I'm open. Yeah. Yay.
Hey y'all, thank you again for watching Ladylike and tuning into this episode. Follow us at ladylike_pod on Instagram and TikTok. Also, if you know anybody that we should highlight on this podcast, any incredible women that you feel like would be a great story for my daughter to hear, hit me up on Instagram, DM me and let me know, and I am more than willing to set up a time to chat with them. Also, if you have any suggestions for the podcast, if you're watching this and thinking, wow, he could really improve at this, or has he thought of this? Please tell me. I'm learning and growing. I really didn't go into this with a ton of experience, and so I'm so happy to hear feedback and grow from it. Lastly, next week is going to be Cortland Byergen with Love Lily Flowers. We are going to make a bridal bouquet together on YouTube. I think that episode drops on July 25th, and then the actual episode for the podcast is on July 30th. Anyway, thank you guys again so much for listening, and we will see you soon.